Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell. Present. Councilman Tontore.
Here.
Councilman Ruthven.
Here.
Councilman Boyd.
Here.
Thank you. We're going to move some stuff around just because Richie Offmer is not here yet. So I invite Yulia Kelly up to discuss some budget transfers.
I guess I'll just point out a few transfers. It's a long list of transfers. It kind of looks a little scary at first, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the town as far as, grants that the town has been applying for. So there's a lot of kind of new things going on. Some of the main, I'll just point out some of the main over expenditures. A couple of things I wanted to point out, even though a lot of lines, a lot of appropriations are moving from one line to another, overall for the general fund, we are expected to use about $247,000 of fund balance. So that's the bottom line. Even though there's a lot of line items over expended, we got some grants, we had some other surpluses, and we had some under expenditures, under expended lines. In the capital fund, not the capital fund, the highway fund, kind of the same situation. We are only expected to use about $50,000 of fund balance. This is as of the end of 2022. As also, there were some lines over expended, specifically for snow removal overtime and snow removal contractual, as well as some highway equipment. But there were some appropriations that were underspent. There were also some unexpected revenues that came in during the year. Lake Carmel Park District. There are several expenses that are going to be covered by grants that we're currently working on. That includes an engineering study for Lake Carmel Dam. There are also the damage to the bridge that's going to be rebuilt that will be covered by money from FEMA. Moving on to Lake Carmel Sanitation, there was just a few contractual costs for the dump fees continue to rise. So we've been trying to, increase that every year, and it's actually over by about $29,000. It was like $50,000 over in the prior years, so we're almost there. Hopefully the costs will stabilize. Just going back to the general fund, some of the overexpended line items, specifically in there were some police line items for which we used some of the committed fund balance that we've had from prior years. We did spend some ARPA money on digital surveillance, so that will be ARPA funds will be used for that. Just the overall costs of gas and utilities. NYSEG costs have gone up significantly, so that was not expected when we were going through the budget process, and that's across the board. Health insurance is also overexpended across, all funds, because during the budget process, we didn't anticipate the increase that we ended up with. And then there were a few other costs that will be covered by grants. We did receive mortgage fees assistance that comes from sales of homes, and it's our portion that's distributed to us from the county. So that helped us balance the budget with the transfers. We also generated quite a bit of revenue in building permits. So that was actually $100,000 over what we've anticipated. I believe a couple of years ago, we signed a new cell tower rental fee agreement, so that those rental fees have gone up as well, and our surplus in that was about $45,000. And there's several smaller items. So that all adds up to extra revenues of $482,000 for the fiscal year of '22, which brings us to only using a fund balance of $247.
Great. So I think we're going to hold off. We'll vote on this next week. That way we can put
Yeah.
a backup online for everyone to look at. We didn't have a chance to, so this was just the presentation. However, we put up on the website, and then we'll vote on it next Tuesday. So,
Celia, so we talked about in 2022, I'll use the highway overtime for snow removal as an example. We went over budget, and
Yeah.
I think everybody did, nobody expected that. But in 2023 now, we're gonna be way under budget, I would hope. We didn't have a hard winter. Does that trend tend to balance itself out over the years, or?
Well, sometimes
And the reason I'm asking these type of questions, there was some other things in there, but we're getting close to going into budget process again. And I'm wondering what tool or mechanism there is for us to better anticipate, obviously weather we can't anticipate, but is there formulas for like the NYSEG bill going up that we could kind of see a trend and know that we have to go up by certain percentages every year?
Well, we would use, we would use the last year, 23 year to date as basis, and 22, and see whether the trends of going upwards have slowed down. If they have, then we could just use the average of the two to kind of try to figure out what next year would be. With highway, it's really, really difficult because we do have November and December. That's always, sometimes there's nothing in November and December, and whatever is left over is just kind of a windfall, and it goes back into fund balance. But if November and December are bad,
So that's a good
smell-wise.
case scenario where you say you average the past 2 years to show the trend, but if we have 2 really mild winters in a row, we wouldn't want to use that average. We'd want to look back even further. We
Yeah.
always want to make sure
Oh,
we
yeah.
have almost
Five.
a higher amount in there
I
all the
would say a
time.
5-year look
Yeah.
back for highway, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
any other comments for right now? Okay. Don't go anywhere, because now I'm going to invite Richie Othmer, our highway superintendent, to come up and talk about a few items. Come on up, Richie.
Okay, you had a question?
Nope, we have your
Oh.
items, your bond, and to transfer some cars.
Oh, okay, yeah, the number one is the approval of the bond. For the paving.
Yep.
Hopefully you approve it because the paving's done. So,
We're voting no then. Take it back up.
all right, just let me up, Kevin. So that's number one, and number two is there's 2 police cars, SUVs, I guess, and Kevin was getting ready to get rid of them, and I asked the supervisor and the police chief if highway and municipal repairs can have them, because when we got to run and get parts and run around, we're taking trucks all the time. It's not really gas efficient, and so they would be perfect spare cars for the municipal repairs in the highway department. So I would ask approval to transfer those over to, actually Nick said, just put them both under the highway, and we'll both use both of them all the time. And that's the second item. Third item, well, what you just spoke about with the winter budget, I have records of all the sand, all the salt, and how many inches of snow we've had since I took office every year. And it's kind of like a parabola where you can see it just flows, and it's hard to predict winter budgets. Like last year was a fairly mild winter, but we had like a 40-something hour ice storm, snowstorm, ice storm, and I'd rather have 3 feet of snow in 10 hours than, 3 days of an inch and a half, because after a certain point, you got to go back out again, and there's not a lot of snow to scrape, and it's actually worse for the environment with the salt and everything. So, but if you need those records, I do it out of an average of a 10-year history.
The 10-year average would be better than looking at just the last 2 years,
We have the actual numbers too, just.
right? The real numbers, not the budget numbers, and see what we really spent, because I don't want to get caught way under budget on that. That can really hurt. I'd rather be on the higher side of that budget and have the extra money go back into the account after the winter than come up short.
I appreciate that. And then on a better, those weren't
Well,
bad things.
Why don't, because Richie has something else he wants to talk about, but why don't we first vote on these two?
Okay.
And then, is that okay with you?
Yeah, you guys, you're the boss.
Is everyone good with that?
Yeah, Richie, just if you could explain, you have on here.
No,
that-
this is not.
That's not it?
This is, we're just doing the
Okay.
$600,000 bond today for the paving.
Oh, this one, okay. Sorry, no
Okay.
problem. Sorry, Rich.
All right. I don't know what anyone wants to do first.
You want to do
Whatever one you can find first.
the bond's the first one, isn't
It
it?
is. Can you find it?
It's like 5 pages long. All right, there's a way of doing this without reading this whole thing. Can you tell me that again?
Read the preamble and then at some point just say enter as though read and jump to the
Gotcha.
the actual resolution.
And what one is the preamble? The big bold
Yeah, I would read that.
bond resolution of the town of Kenham, New York? Is that the preamble?
Yes.
Yeah, this paragraph.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bond resolution for the town of Kent, authorizing the construction of road improvements, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $600,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds of the town in the principal amount of not to exceed $600,000 to finance said appropriation. Now what do I say?
Oh, enter as though read?
Enter as though read, and now we go to the end of it.
Yeah, just go to section 7.
Section 7. Section 8.
Section 7,
Okay,
that's
this
the
is
bond,
section 7.
this bond resolution.
Oh, I haven't even went far enough yet. All right, this bond resolution is subject to a permissive referendum, and the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed within 10 days after the adoption of this resolution to publish or cause to be published in full in the Putnam County Press, a newspaper having a general circulation in said town, which newspaper is hereby designated as the official newspaper of the town for such publication, and to post on the signboard of the town maintained pursuant to the town law a notice in substantially the following form. Is that
And
it?
then enter as though read.
Enter as though
So
read.
That's the notice, and then you could just read section 8 and then ask that you can make that motion.
All right, back to section 8. The town clerk is hereby directed, after said bond resolution shall take effect, to cause said bond resolution to be published in summary in the newspaper referred to in section 7 hereof, and hereby designated the official newspaper for said publication, together with a notice in substantially the form as provided by section 81.00 of the local finance law, constituting chapter 33-A of the consolidated laws of the state of New York. I ask the board to approve this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we're gonna do the transfer of the cars, and I apologize, I have it written on here on highway, and then I also have run on the municipal repairs, but we'll cross off the one when we get to municipal repairs, and we'll just do both for highway. Just reading this to make sure.
I really don't have that section 8 in here either.
Yeah, it's in there.
Does someone want to read this resolution?
Sure.
You have it? Yep, resolution of the retired, yep.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution to transfer 2 retired Kent Police Department Ford SUVs to the Highway Department. Whereas by resolution dated June 20th, 2023, the Town Board of the Town of Kent approved disposing of 3 Highway Department vehicles deemed unsafe and unfit for their current uses. 1, a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria VIN number 2 FABP7BV9BX114451. 2, a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria VIN number 2 FABP7BV3BX101159. And 3, a 2014 Smithco Sandstar Z model 45-500-A. And whereas the Kent Police Department recently retired 2 Kent Police Department Ford SUVs, 1 PD58, a 2014 Ford Utility VIN number 1 FM5K8ARO EGB91246, and 2 PD54, a 2013 Ford Utility VIN number 1 FM5K8AR3DGC26215. The vehicles, which vehicles will be suitable for the use by the Highway Department. And whereas by email dated June 30th, 2023, Richard Othmer, Highway Superintendent, requested that the vehicles be transferred to the Highway Department. The Highway Department intends to share one of the vehicles with municipal repairs, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent authorizes the transfer of the vehicles as further described above to the Town of Kent Highway Department. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank God I don't work for the Motor Vehicles Department. Too many numbers and letters.
Thank you. A couple other things just to touch on quickly. I'm working with Nancy and Brendan with the Paper Road, abandoned road situation, and a paper road is a road that was never built, never existed, and an abandoned road is a road that was built that you don't need anymore. So we're working on that. It's going to take a little time, but I think we might want to redo the whole list because the things that I found in my file it looked like I did it, by myself. So, and the good news is I just received word from the DOT. We got 2 bridge grants, New York bridge grants, $2.6 million for the Ninham Road Bridge and the Sagamore Road Bridge. 1.3 million for Sagamore, 1.27 for Ninham, and I want to give credit to the town board because you guys authorized me to pursue those grants, and we laid out the money with Inside Engineering to do the engineering work for us, and I luckily found out that we're going to get reimbursed for those engineering fees as part of the grant because we had a contract in place with them. It just we had to lay out, Yulia and I went over that, so I'm in the process of doing that with the South Lake Bridge right now. I got to submit, but we'll get the money back, and you guys I appreciate you letting us go ahead with that. And you had the grant writer on staff, the narrative, because the first time we did it, we got shot down on everything, and I wrote the narrative, so now you got a professional in there, and it paid off. So I think it was a good team effort by the board and by the highway and by Yulia, and so thank you for that. And I was with Sean yesterday doing the storm, and the Lake Carmel Walking Bridge, I get calls all the time. When are you going to do the damn bridge? When are you going to do the Grand Bridge? I say, we're at the mercy of FEMA to get the money back. But it's a perfect example. If we rebuilt it with the culverts the way it was, it would have been washed out again. So who's ever listening from Lake Carmel on the TV, that's why it's taking so long, because they have to design proper abutments that's going to withstand storms like we just had. And we're going to get more of these storms. I was up at Cornell this summer, and what they said was that the engineering department, that we're getting the same amount of rainfall we always got every year, but for easy numbers, say we got 200 inches, you would get them in 100 storms. Now we're getting 200 inches in 50 storms, and which yesterday was an example of that. So we got to build for this severe weather. So it was a good illustration for why it's taking so long to get that bridge up properly. But if we did it, it would have been down again. And that's it. I just want to thank you, and I'm very happy about the bridge grants. It's South Lake. I'm still hoping we can start that in March, April. These bridges now, the two new ones, are going to take a whole year cycle of design. We have to go award it to an engineering firm, then we have to go through the design phase. So I'm going to shoot for 2025, but it's going to be 2025, 2026. But, and that's it. And after these, the only bridge we did not hit in the town of Kent, because we have 14 of them we're in charge of, is East Boyd's. So we're going to submit a bridge grant, a New York bridge grant for that one again. And then in 10 years, we redid every bridge in town. I went out yesterday, Miller Hill, Dean Road, Wangtown, Hortontown, Mooney Hill, they all withstood the storm. So I think a lot of those older bridges would have failed. So, and that's it. Any questions?
Just want to thank you for all your efforts on this. It's fantastic.
You guys are very supportive of me, all 5 of you, and I appreciate it. And it's encouraging when, you got people behind you. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. And this
Julia.
lady here does a great job.
Here
She
you go.
does.
Moving on, our next item is municipal repairs. Like I said, we're gonna take off the transfer of vehicles since we already did that. Unfortunately, we were notified that Kyle Ulick, a mechanic, is resigning from his position at the town of Kent. His last day was June 30th, 2023. So we have to accept his resignation and advertise for the position.
Sure. Make a motion for a resolution accepting the resignation of mechanic, Town of Kent Municipal Repairs. Let's see, date of consideration, adoption, July 11th, 2023. Whereas the Town of Kent wishes to accept the resignation of Kyle Bielich as a mechanic with the Town of Kent Municipal Repairs Department effective June 30th, 2023. And whereas the Board of the Town of Kent wishes to advertise for applicants for the vacant position of mechanic in municipal repairs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board accepts the resignation of Kyle Ulick as the municipal repairs mechanic with thanks for his service. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capinelli, to advertise for applicants for a municipal repairs mechanic. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is from the library. We received a letter from Carol Donick, the director of the library, who would like us to appoint James Carey to the Board of Trustees of the library.
Read this if you'd like.
Yeah.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting a new member to the Kent Public Library Board of Trustees. Whereas Carol Donick, Director of the Town of Kent Public Library, has recommended the acceptance of James Carey as a new member of the Town of Kent Public Library Board of Trustees, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Kent wishes to accept the recommendation of Carol Donick, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby accepts and welcomes James Carey as a new member of the Town of Kent Public Library Board of Trustees. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next item is from our code enforcement officer to correct a violation. There are pictures attached. This is to clean up debris. The owner has been notified and he has not cleaned up the property. Our lowest bid was from FIO, the only bid. We requested 3 and no one else would bid, and so the lowest is FI Adams for $900. So I'm just asking that we approve that so we can get this property cleaned up. If anyone wants to see the good pictures.
Holy, it's the whole inside of the house. See that?
Yeah, I did. I saw that line earlier.
I hope not.
There's that one too. You want to see that one? No, this is more. This is, oh, this is, okay, yeah, this is, Someone wanna-
Sure. I make a motion for a resolution authorizing the correction of violation. Acceptance of proposal in charge to property owner. The Town of Kent Let's see, breakdown. The date of consideration adoption, July 11th, 2023. Whereas the code enforcement officer of the town of Kent issued an order to remedy violation dated May 9th, 2023. The order to remedy, directing the owner to remove rubbish at the property identified as 46 Bowen Court, Kent, New York, New York tax map 12.1-71, the property. And whereas the order to remedy requires the owner to correct the violations or respond to the code enforcement officer within 10 days, and to date, the owner of the property has not responded. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 55A of the Town Code of the Town of Kent regarding property maintenance, upon the failure of the owner to comply, the building inspector is authorized to correct a violation subject to the approval of the town board. And whereas the town board, the Town of Kent, wishes to authorize the building inspector to correct the violation, and whereas consistent with the town's procurement policy, the Town of Kent requests 3 written proposals from contractors to correct the violation on the property and receive 1 proposal in response, and a copy of said proposal is annexed hereto and incorporated by reference. And whereas F.I. Adams, Inc. submitted the lowest proposal in the amount of $900. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the Town of Kent hereby accepts the proposal of F.I. Adams, Inc. for the correction of the violation at a cost not to exceed $900. And be it further resolved that the actual cost of the correction of the violation plus the accrued legal rate of interest from the date of completion of the work shall be charged to the property owner by the town in accordance with Chapter 55A-12B. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next we have our excavation ordinance. We are going to be setting our public hearing tonight. Do we have to update or anything, or is this is just setting?
Just setting the public hearing.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Any public comment? Someone to read?
I'm looking for it, I can't find
Okay,
the
hold on,
resolution.
we'll find it.
I can do it if you like.
Ann has it.
I got it.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution providing for a public hearing and notice on excavation ordinance. Be it resolved that the local law amending the replacing of current Chapter 63, currently entitled Soils, and to be entitled Excavation and Mining, is hereby introduced by Chris Ruthven as the introductory local law. Do we have a number?
It will be 4 if this is the next local law.
All right. Local law number 4 of the year 2023 for the town board of the town of Kent in the county of Putnam in the state of New York, and be it further resolved that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law, which is attached hereto, be laid upon the desk of each member of the board, and be it further resolved that the town board will hold a public hearing on said proposed local law at the town hall in the town of Kent, New York at 7:00 p.m. on
August 1st.
August 1st, and be it further resolved that the town clerk publish or cause to be published a public notice in the official newspaper of the town of Kent of said public hearing at least 5 days prior hereto. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure.
Yes.
Changed it to, instead of soil and excavation, excavation and mining. I thought it was.
I shouldn't say mining. That's a mistake.
You just read that.
That's a
But
mistake.
it's also on the draft.
I'm looking at the draft, looking at the top of the draft.
It's supposed to say soil.
Soil and excavation.
But when you just read the resolution, you said excavation and mining.
I know, it was wrong in there too.
Yeah, I just.
No, I just said excavation. No, I didn't, you're right, entitled excavation and mining. But the top title of it was just excavation ordinance.
Yeah, that's
I'm not sure how
So
that
then
got in
change
there.
it, change it in the resolution as written,
All
then
right.
just do soil and excavation.
But I think on the local law, it says excavation and mining, so we'll have to amend that.
Oh, the
Correct.
original from,
We've always been calling it the excavation and the soil excavation, and
it was,
we never had the word mining in
I
the
think
title.
originally we did have mining.
Did we?
We'll correct it.
All right,
It's fine.
but we're good for now.
We're still
We
good.
can correct it through the public hearing. we voted on it, right? I think so.
We didn't vote yet.
No, we didn't vote.
Did you make the?
But
We
I
don't have
could,
to change it now.
I could make a motion to amend the resolution before we vote on it. We could vote on the amendment to change the title.
We don't have to, though, at this point.
Okay.
No, okay, so you made the motion,
I second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next is, Nancy, do you want to explain us with the water districts with what we're doing next with the SECRA? We have, we're just going out, we're just doing the SECRA tonight and the, authorizing the submission for the grant for the Water Districts 1 and Water District 2. And these are the resolutions that we have to.
I see this big one.
This,
Is this the one we're using, this big one?
yeah, because it has to be a specific.
Oh, it's gotta be very
Yep,
specifically
has
the
to
way
be-
it is.
Yeah, they sent, the grant company sent it to us, exactly how it has to be written.
Okay. Is there any questions on it?
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution determining that the proposed Town of Kent Water System Improvements Project is a Type 1 action and will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. Whereas the Town of Kent is proposing the Town of Kent Water System Improvements Project located in the Town of Kent, Putnam County, New York, and whereas the project has been classified as a Type 1 action as defined by the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and 6 NYCRR Part 617.4, and whereas the Town of Kent Town Board sent a letter and Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to other potentially interested agencies and involved agencies, as those terms are defined in the SECRA regulations found at 6 NYCRR Part 617.2, indicating the town is there to serve as the lead agency, as this quoted term is defined in the SECRA regulations, and to complete a coordinated review of the project in accordance with 6 NYCRR Part 617.6. And whereas responses from interested and involved agencies were requested, and each of the potential interested and involved agencies has agreed to or raised no objections to the Town of Kent Town Board serving as lead agency for the project, and whereas pursuant to the SECRA regulations, the Town of Kent Board has considered the significance of potential environmental impacts of the project by using the criteria specified in the section 617.7 of the SECRA regulations, and by examining the FEAF for the project, including the facts and conclusions in parts 1, 2, and 3 of the FEAF, together with other available supporting information to identify the relevant areas of environmental concern. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Kent Town Board hereby establishes itself as lead agency for the project, and be it further resolved that based upon the examination of the FEAF and other available supporting information, and considering both the magnitude and importance of each relevant area of environmental concern, and based further upon the town's knowledge of the area surrounding the project, the Town of Kent Town Board makes the determination that the project will not have a significant adverse environmental impact, and that the project will not require the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement. And be it further resolved that as a consequence of such findings and declaration, and in compliance with the requirements of the SECRA/SERP, the Town of Kent Town Board, as lead agency, hereby directs the Town of Kent Supervisor to sign the FEAF Part 3 determination of significance, indicating that a negative declaration has been issued for the project. This resolution shall take effect immediately and will be properly noticed. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Do we have to put that to a roll, except the question and on roll call, the vote? We gotta do a roll call for that one, I
Okay,
think.
so, roll call, please.
Councilman Campbell?
Aye.
Councilman Santori?
Aye.
Councilman Rissman?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin?
Yes.
I think whoever makes these up ought to give us an anagram list so we know what all these letters that
I
I'm
know.
I
saying
agree.
mean.
Yeah, a cheat sheet.
Cheat sheet.
Yeah.
They're related to the motor vehicle department.
Full environmental assessment form. Something like that.
Okay. Here's another one we have to read.
Another one that goes with this?
No.
Oh, here's a
just
short,
another
yeah,
one.
short one. Who made this one up?
They did same people.
Same people? Well, at least they got rid of a lot of words. I'd like to make a resolution authorizing submission of the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, WIA, grant application for the Town of Kent Water System Improvements Project. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Kent duly caused to be prepared a preliminary engineering report recommending proposed improvements to the town water systems to include the addition of PFAS treatment systems, the replacement of various groundwater wells, the replacement of a water storage tank, and chlorine treatment improvements. And whereas the, what was that one standing for? Preliminary engineering report shows the estimated costs of these improvements to be $2,482,300, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent now desires to pursue grant funding for the project under the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act program. Is that it?
Keep going, I think you have to say.
I gotta read the sections too?
Well then,
All right. Section 1, the town board of the town of Kent, no, I
well,
got,
no,
Therefore, upon
therefore
motion-
upon
oh, therefore upon motion
of Councilman Ruthven.
of Councilman Ruthven, seconded by
I'll second it.
Ann Campbell. Section 1, Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby New York authorizes the submission of the New York State Water Infrastructure Act grant application. Section 2, Town of Kent Supervisor is hereby authorized to submit an application on behalf of the town for grant funding under the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act program, and to execute any agreements, instruments, and other documents in connection with the town's acceptance of any such grants and/or the funding thereof. The town supervisor may authorize any required local match required with respect to financing or grants awarded to the town for the project through the use of cash and/or in-kind services. Section 3, this resolution shall become effective July 11th, 2023. I make this motion.
Already seconded.
Right, so,
Do you want roll call?
yeah, I think we should do roll call again.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Aye.
Councilman Vantori,
Aye.
Councilman Ruthven,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
Yes.
Supervisor Wilson.
Yes. I think we're good now.
All right, we're back to resolutions that look familiar.
Yeah, we do. We are, okay. All right, we are moving on to Lake Carmel. Our first is to, our crew chief, Frank Sabatini, is requesting us the approval of, to hire, oh boy.
That's why I'm not reading this one.
Yaroslav Fedchko.
Really?
Yes.
I'm impressed.
I'm very good with names. I have to be at school.
Okay. As a seasonal, I'm not saying the name, you said it.
You're gonna
I'll do
read
the
it.
thing.
As a seasonal employee for the Park District, to start immediately at a salary of $15 an hour. So I'm asking that we approve him tonight. And you can read the resolution,
Thank
because
you.
no one's gonna try to say that name.
Well, it's Eastern Europeans.
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution to hire seasonal Park District employee for the Lake Carmel Park District. Whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill a vacant position for a seasonal Park District employee for the Lake Carmel Park District. And whereas by email dated July 5th, 2023, Heidi Link, the Lake Carmel Park District clerk, stated that the crew chief, Frank Sabatini, has recommended the hiring of Yaroslav Fedchko effective immediately. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendation as further detailed above, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Yaroslav Fedchko as a seasonal Park District employee for the Lake Carmel Park District at an hourly rate for level 1 workers effective immediately. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow, that was impressive.
There was.
I still couldn't say it, and you've said it now 3 times, so.
Happens.
That used to be when the first year I got on the town board, everyone that had unpronounceable names ended up with me having to read it, every time.
It was on purpose.
I know,
wasn't
it
by
was
accident.
plotted against me.
Really? Okay, so our other item for Lake Carmel is to accept the resignation of Joe Nemeth from the Lake Carmel Park District Advisory Board and to advertise for the open position. Any questions, comments?
Ready? I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution accepting the resignation of a Lake Carmel Advisory Board member. Whereas the town of Kent wishes to accept the resignation of Joseph Nemeth as a Lake Carmel Advisory Board member, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to advertise for applicants for the vacant Lake Carmel Advisory Board seat, now therefore be it resolved, the town board accepts the resignation of Joseph Nemeth as Lake Carmel Advisory Board member with thanks for his service. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its town clerk, Yolanda D. Capelli, to advertise for applicants for the vacant Lake Carmel Advisory Board seat. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have ARPA. We had a meeting last week to discuss the allocation of funds for some of the ARPA money, and tonight we are going to approve some of the funds for some projects. I don't know if someone wants to.
I can go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want me to actually read the numbers?
That's what I was gonna say, if we wanted to go over before we do the resolution, why don't we
We can
read,
just discuss.
discuss what some of the projects are that way?
Okay. So at the workshop meeting last Friday, we discussed, kind of to start out, that we would work on allocation decisions for the funding that has been sent or will be given to the town through the county. And I believe that number is 1.3 million, or it was a little higher than that, right?
It was like it was 1.4.
Or 4 million, I believe. And so we had a list of projects that had been approved by the county legislature, and we mostly stayed with that list, but there are a few changes. For one thing, they had allocated $300,000 for engineering on the Lake Carmel Dam, and at this point, we don't know whether we're going to receive other funding for that, and in any case, it would only cover about 25% of the engineering costs. So for now, we're holding off on that. The projects that were agreed upon at the meeting include the fence that had been requested by the Kent Police Department, $31,360. That was not in the original approval from the county. Another new item, a groundwater protection plan, $28,000. The Lake Carmel walking path, which is mostly complete, I believe, $85,651. The food security program, $288,234, and that's the program that is going to be administered through Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they are gearing up to start that. I think our next step is to get a memorandum of understanding from them, and then they're going to start.
And can we just talk about that one? Was that amount what the county approved? That seems awfully high for our contract with Cornell for, just for a
That's exactly the original number, and they sent us a new budget and timeline that you got.
I didn't look at it.
Yeah, and...
So how much are we paying them per year?
I don't remember now if the first year is a little higher. I think the second year is higher because it's going to take time to ramp up to do some of the production of the meals and so forth.
Okay.
So, but it is exactly in line with what we originally budgeted. It's just that things shifted around a little bit because of the timing.
No, I understand. So but where is that gonna go out of in lieu of the fact that we haven't finished the location we were planning on doing it out of it? Or are we moving forward with it in a separate location at this point in time?
Yeah, I think the intention always was to have multiple locations for distribution, local food pantry like Casa Servir, the library. And so if we're not quite ready to have something going at the new town hall renovated building at this point, I think, it'll come together. The plan still is to have a food pantry there and a freezer for distribution.
Okay.
The question is it a one-time fee that we're paying for it? How does it continue out annually from here?
We had that question come up, and the folks from Cornell Cooperative Extension are working on other funding sources, and so this is meant to be a pilot program, and then they will be using that to obtain other funding to sustain the program in the future. So it's a 2-year pilot.
Okay, and is some of the money infrastructure monies, like when we're talking about the Kent police station? Is it going to be putting like refrigerators and stoves?
It would pay for some equipment, not for stoves, but the plan was to include, I believe, a couple of commercial freezers in the budget. I think maybe 3 commercial freezers.
Oh, good.
That's a relatively small proportion of the cost. A lot of it is going to be, the community outreach, working to develop the infrastructure, expanding the capability of organizations such as Second Chance Food, and actually paying for the meals that would be produced and distributed.
So no, this is a pilot program, so what happens in 2 years?
Well, that's what I think our question has always been. We have the great intention, but it's not a cost at this point that the town could bear solely on its shoulders without continued grant funding. And I think that's why Cornell is good. I think there's a lot of grant funding for these type of programs out there. I think there's a lot of it out there. And I think that should be part of our agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension, that in order for the continuation, they should continue seeking the grant funding. I mean, we'll help, obviously, but we should we don't want to bear the full, divide that in half. I know you said it's a little more and a little different, but let's cut it in half. What would it be for 1 year? 144?
Probably, well, or a little less, I
Or a
think.
little less.
I don't have it in front of me.
So that's the kind of thing, I think, looking at the future, we gotta say, how do we, in year 3, where do we come up with that 144? And we
That's
wanna
gonna
make
be on
sure that
Cornell.
It's on them to continue the program.
Well, we're saying it's on them, but what if they don't get the money? What if
Then
after 2 years
then it's
there's no
done.
money?
Unfortunately, I think then it
But then
floats.
we've put in all this equipment at the Old Town Hall, we've taken the space away from other things.
Well,
and-
we would still be able to use the equipment for
Yeah.
whatever
We talked
else we
about having
want.
it for
Yeah,
emergencies.
for emergency operations.
I know, but you're gonna take away part of like my main room down there for like the seniors to put these freezers and stuff in, and then if we stop using it, there's no rooms for the seniors still, and we have freezers that we're not using. But when we have an emergency, we can use the freezers. It seems to me, I'd rather the space be used all the time.
Well,
for-
I did have this discussion, I was nervous about the space in the basement when I saw the plans.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another discussion that we may be able to get, instead of 3 commercial freezers indoors, a refrigeration unit outside that goes in the parking lot, walk-in. They have one up at Tilly Foster behind the barn. And then,
So we could have a small kitchen just in there.
because I did talk to the executive director about the size of the kitchen that's in there, and it does look small on paper. But she said the kitchen-wise, they didn't need a whole lot
Okay.
of space, I didn't think. It was more the refrigeration, I think, that was the issue. But we could go with an auxiliary outside refrigeration if we have to.
Also, I noticed that there's what's designated as a storage room, and if we are going to open a food pantry, again, the food pantry could be operated at marginal, very low cost in the
Right,
long
yeah.
run. People drop off donations, you get some volunteers to staff it, so that storeroom could perhaps be designated, rather than taking any of the meeting room space. The storeroom could be used as a food pantry space, and a freezer could go in there. I don't think they were planning to put multiple commercial freezers in there. I think the plan was to have, say, one for the library, maybe one for Casa Servir,
Okay.
and one
At multiple
Town Hall.
locations. So one thing I don't want to get away from is the fact that we asked for this money from the county with this project written out, and in good faith, they gave it to us. And there's a lot of towns that didn't get projects that they wanted, so I don't want to steer away from this project because the county gave us the money for the purpose of this project.
Yeah, we just got to know that we have the infrastructure to
Right.
fulfill this
And-
promise.
And we really want to make sure we're very clear on the continuation of the project moving forward.
So just a quick, and are they like pre-prepared meals? Are they prepared on-site? How many meals a day do they do? Do you,
That's all in the
They
proposal,
came
which
here-
I could send to you, but most of the food preparation they were looking at is having Second Chance Food do it. You may be familiar, that's a nonprofit,
Sure.
and they actually glean food that, that's required by law now, that stores of a certain size are not allowed to waste all of that food that's getting ready to expire that they would normally throw away, and so that goes to Second Chance Foods. Literally, it's a second chance for that food to be used. They prepare absolutely amazing, delicious meals. Those are frozen in individual packets and are currently being distributed around the area. And so the goal would be to use a service like that, also to have a connection with farmers in the region, to build up the distribution network to get the food from the stores to the place that the meals are being prepared, and then to get those out to the public. I love the idea of having the food pantry right next to the meeting room so that seniors who are there have those meals and other foodstuffs, dry goods and so forth available. You'd be amazed at the low number of seniors in our community that take advantage of Meals on Wheels relative to the number on the Alice list, individuals who are asset limited, working, and don't have food security. So this is a fantastic location to do it. I'm not sure how big that storeroom is, but again, I'm not suggesting that we reduce the size of the planned meeting room. I'm only suggesting that we, instead of having that be a storage room, you could put up a storage shed anywhere for storage. Let's have that be the food pantry.
But are we charging for these meals? Because when they presented here, there was a thank you note attached. And it was from a woman who said the meals were great and I spent less money on it than I would if I went to the store and bought all the ingredients myself.
I thought that she was just saying what she saved because she
Yeah,
didn't
that's what
have to
she
buy
meant.
the groceries. Those meals are given away.
They're free, the meals are free.
Yeah, there's no charge for them.
The note said that she paid for it.
I think it was meaning that she saves money on her
That was
grocery
close.
bill because she's getting these meals to supplement her grocery bill.
Right, there is a cost for the meals, but the cost is far less than if you bought those ingredients because the ingredients mostly are, again, gleaned from stores that are having to dispose of things plus donations.
And so is it a mix of people coming and getting the meals there and NGOs that distribute the meals from there? Non-government organization?
Right.
Okay.
And so in this case, those meals would be made available to Kent residents through these different outlets. And again, if we have a food pantry here, we could be taking donations from the community. We could also work out a system whereby, through, we can talk with CCE. I would think that they would also be bringing in non-perishable foods for the food pantry from these stores. They all have things that are getting ready to expire that are still good that they can bring in. So that would be part of the plan. Shall I keep going?
Yep.
Okay, library, $46,444. We had already voted to allocate for the programs on technology education, some new technology, computers and so forth, and also the technology support sessions that they offer. Then we had $134,076 for the Ryan Field entrance work. And we have been awarded a $45,000 grant to develop a pedestrian and cycling plan, and that has a 50% match. That plan can then be used to try to garner more significant infrastructure funding to, say, put in sidewalks, sharrows, and so forth to make the town more pedestrian and cycling friendly and to reduce car travel as people are ideally perusing our commercial areas. And so the last one is the town hall renovation. And there's room here. We had originally put in a figure of $500,000. I don't think any of us think that it's going to be accomplished for that low of a figure. But with what we have available from the county, I believe we could go up as high as either 750 or 800,000. What did we finally
I have
decide?
785.
785,000 would be kind of the upper limit if we're just keeping it under what the county has allocated to us. And of course, then we have another 1.3 million that we haven't made decisions about yet. These funds have to be decided upon and allocated by the end of 2024 and expended by the end of 2026. So we didn't want to make decisions about all of this at this time. We're kind of at about the 50% mark with mostly projects that we've already vetted out and discussed. And then we'll see where we go with the rest of it over the next 6 months to a year. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I think the really important thing, especially for people at home, is that, as Councilwoman Campbell just said, if we don't use this money, it will be given back to the federal government. These are funds that are already allocated. It's not a new tax, it's not a new fee, it's not anything that's new. It's money that we are being given by the federal government. If we don't use it, we lose it. It's basically the easiest way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, most of what we're talking about tonight is money given to the county by the federal government, and the county
Right.
is sharing it with the towns. So I think at some point, the county is going to say, give it back to us if you're not
Right.
losing it, because
Yes.
they're going to find other projects to use it with. So I think we need to be using that pile of money up first. I think that's a good plan from the.
And that's why we
from our
made it a
side.
priority to decide on this first,
Right.
little over half of the funding at this point.
Good.
Any public comment?
I'd like to see the backup of that too, because, you're saying numbers and you're saying things that, okay. With the food pantry, why isn't the county doing it at Tilly Foster? A central location where you would think, instead of giving the
That's a
town.
question to ask the county.
Well, they gave it to you, and
Well,
you're
that
the
was-
town board member, so I would just.
That was a project that we put on a wish list.
Oh, I didn't know.
We gave them
Okay.
a whole spreadsheet. We probably had, 15 items on
Okay.
there,
And
and
they
they
picked what
picked
we
the
could
ones
do.
that they wanted to fund.
Okay. And you were saying about the dam, the $300,000, and now you say there's $1.3 million
It's
still?
1.3 million for the engineering. Just for the engineering, 1.3 million.
Just for the engineering?
So what people might not know is that in addition to applying for the congressional appropriation, which we've done,
Okay.
we are about to submit through the consolidated funding applications due the 28th of this month. This would be water quality improvement program through DEC. I think they fund up to $5 million, so we're hoping to get additional funds from them.
Okay. And do you have plans for this, the old town hall? I've never seen anything.
We got some preliminary plans. I know you met with them and made a few changes to it, so we're not gonna put them out until we've settled on what we wanna give as the final draft version.
Okay,
We're in the preliminary draft version phase right now,
okay.
okay?
But we could probably say a little bit about what's going in there, right?
Yeah, I can tell you what's
Jamie
going
can
in
tell
there.
you about that.
So upstairs in the Old Town Hall, we're going to be moving our recreation department over there, as well as our Lake Carmel Park District office over there.
Where they were.
Yes, they're going back. Well, I mean, we've run out of space in this building. We're all sharing offices, but there's no room for all of us here. So if we free up a couple of offices here, our IT can have its own room instead of having to put like he's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain so no one can see his computers. You know, we can move him somewhere. So we need that there. The town historian will also have an office and a storage area. To be able to put all the historical documents instead of having them in boxes all over the county.
A small conference room
Well, a small
upstairs.
conference room upstairs, and then downstairs will be a multi-use area, so the seniors can hold their weekly meetings. Right now, when I have we do arts and crafts for rec, and they use my conference room right now, and I can only fit so many kids in that conference room, like 8 to 10. So we can do crafts down there with the kids, they can use it, we can do a teen club, residents can hold meetings there. Do you have to put a ramp? We will have an elevator.
The entrance will be on ground level.
There'll be an entrance on
It'll be a
both.
newer facade, so it doesn't look like old boarded up garage doors on the front. It'll have a little bit of an atrium off the front with an elevator and a stairwell off the front that you can get up there. There'll be basically a foyer at the ground level and then kind of an entryway when you come in at the top. Although the ramp and the door are still there. There is some road configuration that we have to work out, and that's some of the things that I want to talk to Richie, I think, about before we put that design out in public. We're gonna have to reroute some roads there a little bit. Because the stairs, we kind of have a pretty good idea. The stairs literally come out into a road, and that's not a very safe way to exit from the second level right now.
So the elevator's gonna be down?
The elevator will be on the ground floor, or on the
Like
ground
kind of
level.
where if you go around the door, there's a door right there, that's where it will be. That'll be the entryway, the elevator. But it's exciting, we need the space.
And it'll be a heating, cooling, charging center.
Yeah, it'll be
all
an
that other good
emergency
stuff.
center.
It'll be an emergency shelter where people can go and
We'll have cots there, so in case we have to put people up.
warming station,
warm- yeah,
charging
in the winter
station.
if we lose power.
Just a quick thing regarding it, it's Wanda Schweitzer. I just saw with all the construction going on 52, you got all these heavy-duty trucks there, and they're breaking up all the blacktop. Do you have plans on putting in a new septic system, I hope, because whatever's under there is going to be crushed, and there used to be major problems with the septic system there. So I was wondering what your plans are for the septic system for that building, especially now that all the blacktop's being broken up, because I watch it as I go by, because I live right near it.
Yes,
So I was wondering if you put that into consideration.
absolutely.
We have-
Very much so. Because obviously a septic system doesn't function underneath blacktop, so,
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, yeah, so-
I used to be Park District in
Yeah.
the building.
so. yeah.
It does have restrooms up on both levels too, not the ones that are there now. No, it'll look really nice. It'll be very functional. It's gonna be a good addition to our town, and it's gonna make our town hall more usable here, give us some more room.
Is the footprint of the building changing at all, or is it going to be the exact same size?
The atrium out the front toward the parking lot will make it a little wider toward the parking lot.
Thank you.
What about
I didn't hear what you
I
said.
didn't.
How about the Lake Carmel Community Center? No monies for that?
From ARPA, you mean?
Not in this pool.
From ARPA.
From ARPA what, I'm sorry?
She wanted to know if there were
Oh, there's
monies
no, we
from-
didn't, no.
No, that's all insurance.
Basically, what we're doing is what we got approved by the county. There's a few extra things that we're adding here, but right now, we're just looking at the county monies just to get them locked up and in the process. The county's gonna wanna see them, the ball rolling on the money they've allotted us at this point in time.
And I thought the community center was an issue just in terms of
Yeah,
not being
because-
available to the entire town.
It depends how we were to word that, because the community center, even though it's Lake Carmel, it could be in an emergency used as emergency shelter. I mean, we can look at it, but it's not part of this package. It's not part of this package at this point in time.
But we have written it down to the public.
Yeah.
It's a higher rate, that's all. So it's always been rented out.
But I think
And
the,
the walk, you said use the money for the walking path, that's the problem.
Yeah. We got approved by the,
I'm just saying.
but I think the concern was that if, say later on down the road, we put a playground at the old community, the Lake Carmel Community Center, residents that don't live in Lake Carmel cannot go use that playground on a Tuesday night. It's only if they rented it out, then they could use it. No, I'm saying, but Chris and I were talking about some ideas there, and we were talking about it.
and there's a nice lawn, there's a nice area.
Yes.
We can improve the whole area and make it nice with the new building and a new recreational opportunity there for the kids. Kind of get them away from the main roads a little bit. You good?
Should I go ahead and read this now?
Sure.
Okay. I make a motion to adopt a resolution to approve allocation of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds. Whereas the American Rescue Plan Act of 2022, ARPA, provided fiscal recovery funds to county governments as well as other forms of government pursuant to U.S. Department of Treasury compliance and reporting guidance for the purpose of alleviating the fiscal stress caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the Town of Kent has received funding from ARPA. And whereas the Town of Kent Town Board has identified a number of projects that will benefit the town residents, as shown on the email dated July 7th, 2023, annexed here too, and incorporated herein by reference, the ARPA projects. And whereas the Town Board wishes to allocate the ARPA funds to the ARPA projects as shown in the aforementioned email, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby approves the allocating of the ARPA funds to the ARPA projects as described above, further described above. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby ratifies and approves any actions previously taken to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
I'd like to make one comment on that, just so everybody's aware. Have we looked at, and Ann, I'm sure you have looked at it because you really studied the ARPA stuff, all of the guidelines and restrictions on how the ARPA funding has to be used? I know there's a lot of hoops and bells and whistles that you have to make sure each project falls in line with in order to get
When
that.
it first was published, the guidance was so restrictive that I believe the town board at the time looked at it and said there was nothing they could use it for.
But they've opened it
And then,
up.
I think in April of '22, there was a shift in the regulations, and basically it came down to municipal operations, so long as you're not using it to balance your budget. And there are definite procedures that have to be followed, and I think the county is up on those, and Yulia is up on those. But all of the projects that we've recommended up until this point have been vetted out as acceptable under the regulations as they now stand.
Okay. So I know in talking with, I don't even know who I was talking with, I don't remember at this time, that like when you put stuff out to bid for contracting, for a contractor to do stuff, you have to make sure that you're using the women-owned businesses and, you know, that type of thing. And I just want to make sure, I really think when you go to apply for the ARPA funding, if that's something that we let slip, we wouldn't get the reimbursement on it. So we got to be really careful that we're hitting each of those benchmarks or requirements as we go through the process of bidding out and doing each of these projects.
Well, for example, with the pedestrian and cycling plan, anything that's grant funded in part by the state, we definitely have to follow the MWBE guidelines, and we have to go to bid if it's over a certain threshold according to our own procurement policies. So yes, absolutely. I'm not so sure, for example, with the food security program, I think we're probably able just to contract that out to Cornell without an issue.
Right.
But maybe we should double check.
Okay, I think that this is a place where we could use the county's resources and vet it through because they're using it, they're doing it. So if I think each project that we get done as we're getting ready before we go, we should try to set some type of a meeting up with, was there an attorney over there, wasn't it, that was helping with it out of the law department, and just double check everything, cross our Ts, dot our Is, so we don't make any mistakes on it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, be good for the vouchers. I ask the board to approve the following vouchers that were over the threshold for July 11th, 2023. Barton and LaJudas, DPC, $2,775 for the WIIA grant application, and $25,760 for the water system PFOA. Semco, $3,393.97 for Water District Number 1 monthly operations. Hogan and Rossi, $5,416.63 for legal services for July. Magna 5 MS, $7,259.37 for network services for July. Metal Building Restoration, $32,600 for requisition number 17. Nycomco, $2,972 for our communication system for July. Peckham Industries, $9,479.94 for blacktop. Wind Waste, $10,809.70 for Lake Carmel garbage, $8,540.97 for Lake Carmel garbage, $8,673.79 for Lake Carmel garbage, and we're adding one more for recycling. Royal Karting Service Company, $4,002.73 for recycling. I ask the board to approve as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Announcement. So on July 1st, we had a beautiful fireworks show over Lake Carmel, and I want to thank all of our sponsors that donated. Brown & Brown Insurance, Eric Baker and Daughters, Deli on 52, Tim Curtis, Sean Boyd, Carmel Ad Special, Lake Carmel General Store, Boyd Artisan Well, RCJ Welding, Mark's Clockworks, Semco, Kathy Doherty, Cotillo's, Kent Countryside, Nursery, Kent Liquors, Cassidy Plumbing, Angela Verity, Barton and LaJudas, Kathy Kahn, Insight Engineering, Rob Bradley, JPE Auto, Alejandro's Deli, Pat Madigan, and the Kent FOP. We do still have some coming in, so
Yeah.
as they come in, we'll thank
Extreme
them.
Design was.
Oh, and
another
I'm sorry, Extreme
Yeah.
Design made a donation and helped us with a lot of our publicity.
Yes.
So thank you to everyone that donated. It was a great show.
We really appreciate it. Come back next year
And donate.
and donate. No, it couldn't go off without donations from these communities and our businesses in our community, and we really, really appreciate that we're able to put the show on that we are.
Yeah, a great
Kathy?
show.
Thank you, Kathy.
Any other announcements? Any other from the town board?
I have some. if
Okay.
anyone else does.
Yeah.
I usually go first, so. Okay, so events at the library coming up. I have a couple of interest for those of you who like history. The first one is a virtual presentation from David Brooks from the Schoharie Crossing State Historic Site to present the DeWitt Duel. And it says that the life of DeWitt Clinton is an interesting exploration into the politics of early America and New York State. Recognized now as the father of the Erie Canal, New York State Governor and former mayor of New York City, Clinton had tended to personal and political rivalries to accomplish legislative goals. Discover some of the intrigue, wrangling, and dirty politics that led ultimately to DeWitt's duel on the plains of Weehawken, New Jersey. I believe, I think that's on the 19th. I'm sorry I didn't get that date in here when I copied it off the website, so please go to the library website to check it out. And then right here in this building, we are going to have Professor April Bisoff from Vassar College. She has published this book, Taking Our Water for the City. If you want to know how Kent became what it is, this is a lot of that history. So she also studied the town of Olive, it's up near the Ashokan Reservoir. So she's going to share her exploration of these ruins on city-owned lands throughout our region. And this is going to be here in this building on the 15th at 11 a.m., Saturday the 15th. And my only regret is I will be on vacation and won't get to attend. But it should be a fantastic presentation. Also, coming up at the County Country Festival and 4-H Showcase on the 29th and 30th of this month at the county park, Conservation Advisory Committee and Climate Smart will be there. Come and learn about new refrigerants, come and learn about composting your food waste, and also learn about our natural resource inventory project. And in addition, what's really exciting, for those of you who are interested in the statue of Daniel Nimmo, which we hope to have right there at the park, That statue, the 4-foot version, has been completed by sculptor Michael Karopian of Kent, and actually just recently won an award in a juried exhibition. And there's a film by local filmmaker Jeff Hodges all about how that statue was made. We saw it at Arts on the Lake earlier this year, and they are going to be showing that film at their booth at the county 4-H and festival. So please do come and check them out as well. And in addition, we're going to try to bring that movie here to Town Hall, probably on August 23rd. The movie nights have been Wednesday nights, but we might start a little bit earlier, and we'll do it indoors, so since it's not necessarily going to be a lot of little kids on blankets for that one. So come one, come all. We'll get the news out and confirm that date, but as far as I know, that will be the date. And I think that's all I had. Thank you.
I am announcement free.
Okay. Do you have an announcement?
No, I am announcement free.
Oh, okay.
No.
Are you guys good?
I would just say, talk about Second Chance Foods. I went into my pantry the day of all the COVID food I bought. I had like a dozen jars of peanut butter in there that I will not eat. They'll expire long before I eat them. Check out your pantry from where you're buying lots of stuff for COVID and see if you can donate it to the Second Chance Pantry.
I like peanut butter. You can put it in our room in there and I'll eat it every time.
Yeah, actually, isn't Senator Harkam doing a food drive
He might
coming
be.
up really soon?
Yeah, so lots of foods expire around that
Yeah,
two-year mark.
They're going to be
and-
accepting drive-through donations. I think it's going to be here in Carmel. I don't know if I can pull that up quickly, but check it out.
Okay, thank you.
They'll want your peanut butter if it hasn't expired.
No, it hasn't.
Any public comment?
Kathy's coming to ask for your peanut butter.
Oh, I just found it, by the way, if you can bear with me for one more second. It is going to be this Saturday, July 15th, at Carmel High School. So please drop off your food. I'm trying to find the date. Yes, noon to 2 p.m. in the Carmel High School parking lot. You can just drive in and drop off that peanut butter and whatever else you don't need. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you, Ann.
My liaison to the sewer district had told me that it was going to be on tonight.
Yeah, so I asked, we have to get the other resumes from the other people.
You have 3.
I know yours is in, I don't know about the other 2. I asked somebody else about it.
There were 3,
Okay.
and they were in weeks ago. We're stalling 10 years. 10 years we've been without representation. 10 years.
Is it?
Rich, do you want to say
I
something?
think Sue's coming up,
Okay.
and then Rich can come up.
Sue Kotzer, Town of Kent. Probably about 7 months ago, a very nice big wooden sign on 301 fell down saying, welcome to Kent, and it's still not put back up. I'm just wondering if there's a time limit that the sign is being repaired. Is it going to go back up on 301?
I didn't know.
Whereabouts on 301?
A little bit before Smoky Hollow Court, where the highway garage is.
On the
So it's
bank-
not
on the
there
bank
anymore.
there. On the bank, they're all through, as you're coming, yeah, I know what you're talking
From
about.
Carmel.
I didn't even notice it was down, I drive there
Yeah.
all the time.
So I'm just wondering
Who
if you
picked it
have
up?
any
Did the
idea
highway
when it's going
department
back
pick that
up.
sign up?
I never heard about it.
Me either.
This is the first time hearing about
It was reported,
Why didn't you coming in again?
it was reported to the town clerk's office. Not you, Lauren.
It's down by the highway garage, Smoky Hollow Court. The sign, the Welcome to Kent sign that was down by the highway garage along 301.
I didn't notice it was gone.
Me either.
No one told me. Is it laying there?
No, it was removed. It's not there.
You know, they did, is that where they came up through the woods and cut to put all the
No,
power
it would-
lines in? No?
No.
Because I was wondering if they took it down to
No,
drive
they
through
didn't
there.
take it down.
So just send me,
It was leaning and then it fell down.
So I think what we're gonna have to do, if we don't have it.
I don't know.
Is we're gonna have to.
Check the highway garage, maybe
We
the
just
guy-
asked.
I think he would know if it was there. Do you have the
Maybe,
sign?
maybe one of the crew people took it.
I mean, it's a state road too. The state could have picked it up if it was laying on the side of the road.
they're pretty good with it.
But if they did, they probably would have brought it back. Oh.
Sue, did you submit a letter to our office?
Excuse me?
Did you submit the letter to our office?
I made the report to the clerk's
Okay,
office
I'll-
that it
I'll look
was
tomorrow.
falling down and then it was removed. Okay, thanks.
It fell down and then it was removed?
Yeah, it was leaning.
How long ago was it?
Richie? Does he need that?
No, that was just, should be.
One more thing, I went home and I thought I had something else to talk about. I'm here as a veteran, and I'm not here as a highway superintendent. I was asked to represent a group of the VFW, the American Legion, which I'm a member of, the Putnam Memorial Heroes Monument, the FOP. Anyway, when they built the new courthouse in 2005, the construction started. The county bought the old Putnam Motors, the Adams Putnam Motors. It was supposed to be ripped down. They never did, because when they were doing the construction of the courthouse, they didn't want to, they realized how busy everything was, and they didn't want to have complete chaos of having a demolition job and the construction job of the courthouse. So then moved forward a little bit, and they had around the courthouse opened, I think, in 2009. And then a couple of years later, they had to do all the renovations to the old county office building, so they moved Mike Bartolotti, the county clerk, into there temporarily, and it was never ripped down as it was intended to be. I called Bob Bonney up at his farm to verify this, and Bob verified this, and then it sat for all these years, and United for the Troops has been operating out of there, we found the new home. Jackie and Abby, the supervisor of Putnam Valley, and I have been working with United for the Troops, and we got Wayne Ryder's going to donate a building for them to use for free. And the Putnam Motors building has been up for sale forever, and it almost just sold, but they couldn't get the parking spaces they needed. So I think it's kind of on a stalemate again. But we wanted to go back to the veterans, the FOP, the professional firemen, and actually I found out from the judges, but they can't officially say it, so I spoke to some retired judges. They all want that building gone, and create a green space that goes in front of the courthouse, which is a beautiful courthouse, right down to Lake Oneida. And it would abut Memorial Hall, which was built after World War I for all the veterans of Putnam County. That's not just for the Carmel, for us, the Carmel, Kent, VFW, American Legion. That's for all of the county. That was built after the World War I. So we have plans in place now where we're going to get money to get that building renovated and brought into the 21st century. So we have, we would like to have a green put in front of the courthouse. It would abut the Memorial Hall, and I mean, we have the holiday parade there. You had the football parade for Carmel High School when they won the state championship. They have they used to have a Veterans Day parade in downtown Carmel for the county. So what I'm asking tonight is that so far, Putnam Valley, Phillipstown, Patterson, and hopefully Kent, they've already written resolutions in support of doing this. I sent a letter to the supervisor's office. I assume you guys saw it, but I was hoping to ask if Kent, you would support that to be sent to the legislature. The building's, it was a car dealership. I know I just spoke to the County Highway Department during the storm, and they're spending a couple of grand now just to get the raccoons out of it. It's just, the basement's flooded. It's time for that building to go, and instead of putting something else up there, I think it would be best served for the whole county as a green space. You know, it is our county seat, and you go into these towns in New England and Connecticut, and they have these beautiful downtown county areas and stuff like that, and to picture an apartment building or something there, it doesn't sit well with me. And I know the one thing I think about, I remember when I was a kid, I think it was like 1964, the Thompson House burnt down in Mahopac. That's where Four Brothers Pizza is now. And I remember riding down the hill, and it burnt for 24 hours. I watched it from my bicycle, and I remember my mother saying, it'd be nice if the town of Carmel was looking to build their new town hall, because it was in that old little house still. And she said, if the town would buy that waterfront property, put the new town hall there, you know, you could put the new firehouse, it'd be right on the lake for a public park, and we ended up with an A&P. So I think that if we act and we get your support, we have some aesthetic vision, I would appreciate it if you guys would support us in that and send a resolution to the county legislature saying so. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
We haven't adjourned, do you want to just do this?
Yeah, works for me.
So those are the resolutions from all the different towns, so.
So
Do you wanna piece
I'll
one
make a
together?
motion to adopt a resolution to join with other towns to support the mission of VFW Post 1374, American Legion Post 270, Fraternal Order of Police Stephen Driscoll Lodge 704, New York City Firefighters Hudson Valley East, and Putnam Heroes Memorial, in seeking to protect the lot which was formerly the old Putnam Motors building, in order to create a common public green space in front of the county courthouse for veterans, first responders, and the county government. We as a board believe that creating such a green space would significantly enhance and promote a more beautiful and dignified feel to our county center and support all veterans in the county. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Give me that.
I know.
We left any, remember
Yeah.
then? Okay.
We must have missed Final Jeopardy.
I make a motion to go into
Oh, I
exec.
think,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry. I did not.
Sorry, I have one thing to ask. It was brought to my attention, I normally don't ride down through Carmel. Wanda Schweitzer again from Lake Carmel. I see on Route 52 as you pass West Lake Shore and you come to the lake, for some reason, somebody bulldozed right from the West Lake Shore right into the lake. Does anybody know why that was done? Because now the water's just running right off into the lake.
Whereabouts?
Right on the corner, I always say Happy Valley, right there at West Lake Shore Drive.
West Lake Shore Drive.
Past
Oh,
the
by-
tavern on
So
52
for some
now.
reason, somebody
Across from where the
bulldozed
batting cages
down
used to be, where
deep.
the swamp is.
Did the DOT just do it to relieve the water off the road when the rains came?
No, it's been there about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
But it's in the DOT right away?
It's actually from the old, forgive me, being around for so long, the old Gosson corner.
Where the real estate building was.
Yeah, there was a little shack there before the
Yeah.
pump station went in.
Yeah.
I've been around too long, too.
Almost behind the pump shed,
Right.
more closer to 52. Somebody has.
But it's gouged out,
Did a car lose control?
right, but it's gouged out, so there's not even a buffer for any of the water to, to be filtered into the lake.
But DOT has been around for a few weeks.
Yeah.
DOT's been cutting everything back there.
It's been almost a month now that they've been around.
Yeah, I don't think it was
I don't know.
DOT,
We could look
either was
into
the
it. I don't
Park
know if we're
District
gonna try
guys,
to
ask you when he was
or
here.
it was the Highway Department, which I would have liked to ask Rich, I didn't know he was leaving right away. But I was just concerned about it because it is quite wide, and after having all this water, the storm, so I was just concerned, I thought maybe one of you knew. Okay,
We can
thank
ask
you.
Richie, and we'll find out.
Or we may never find out. It might be a mystery that goes
Yes.
unsolved. But we'll put that in the folder with Sue's missing sign.
Part of the right of way. This one. All right.
All right, I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Have a nice night. See everyone next Tuesday.